Alrighty, let's go ahead and build. Go to File, Build Settings, PC, Mac, and Linux Standalone, Windows x86, Default, Build. I have put a folder directly under the project folder called Test Build. Create a folder, new folder, put it down there, select it, make sure it's selected right there. You don't have to click into it, but make sure it's selected. Select folder and wait for the build to happen and wait for the error. We have, there it is. Oh no, my life is over. So we jump over here, and basically what we see is that we are calling methods, and for one thing, clear mesh has already been excluded from the build because it is wrapped inside of only if this is Unity editor. Only if we're in the Unity editor does this code exist. Mesh parts is trying to be released. Therefore, when we call clear meshes and it tries to clear mesh, it can't find that method anymore. We want that because a lot of this stuff, any code that is using the Unity editor cannot be released. So we basically wrap all parts of our class that we do not want to be released inside of these statements if Unity editor, and end it with an end if. So if it is the Unity editor, then these methods are available. Now if we go to the editor itself, we don't have to worry about that. It's not released. It won't be built. The only thing that's going to be built are these guys, because we're currently using them as prefabs, and we need to wrap all this stuff up in a if Unity editor if it's using the Unity editor. This one I even have that method. That makes no sense actually, but I don't know, it probably was midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning when I'd done that. You don't have to wrap the using statement in Unity editor, but that's good enough. Okay, now we go back. I should have these pinned up here. We go back to Unity again. We clear our errors because they won't go away before the next build, and we won't be able to find where the error is. We go back to build and just build again. And we're building. And it automatically opens up the folder for us. Let's test it. Let's max it out. Alrighty, welcome back. Crazy thing, I recorded this test build and Camiseta whatever crashed when I saved. So I'm going to do it again. Build setting, I didn't find out until midnight. Go to build settings, build. I'm going to build to a test build folder. We'll do a bunch more builds when we get to building the fences, but for right now we're just going to give it one run. See all of our pretty work. Okay, so our frame rate's working. We have very low RAM usage, of course, because nothing's going on. Let's start off with a span of 10. 5 to 10 is what I really think is about the best for each common. So if you want an infinite world, you really need to have multiple, or if you want to large map, you really have to go into pooling, but you don't have to go into pooling if you're going to have a fixed map, fixed size. If you're going to have a loading screen in between maps, you just have to turn off commons. You have to turn off chunks outside of your view. Let's go ahead and put a couple of something down here. I don't know. I gotta actually set a shape. There we go. Now let's go over to preset of 2, and we're going to jump to material. There we go. Preset 3. Oh. Okay, so quit setting materials. Let's go to 20. Oh, well, first, let's check our memory. What we're doing here. 26 megs, 19 to 26 megs. Chunk span of 20, new one. It's going to take a little bit longer. Knocked our frame rate down by 1. So it took 1 frame to get everything spooled up. That's why we have to put that on another thread. And as you can see, so what you have to understand is when you have multiple commons out here working together, each common is going to take about the same amount of time to run. So if all of our commons are set to 10, a chunk span of 10, and we have 2x2 commons, it's going to run at the speed of having a 10 span. Whereas a 20 span runs, is so slow, it's so much slower, it's 4 times slower than a 10 span. Because you're actually creating the equivalent of 4 commons at 10 by 10. You're not creating 2 commons at the rate of 10 by 10, you're creating 4 commons. But the RAM usage on 1 common is, of course, much better than 4 commons because each common has its own vertices collection, its own normals collection, its own UVs collection, etc. Own face indexes collection. So, although we've really sped it, we've really improved the RAM, or we have really improved the RAM over having every chunk having its own vertice collection, its own face index collection. You have to balance it. So whereas if we had this right now 20 by 20, you know, that's 400 chunks is what we're looking at right now. That's what we have out here is 400 chunks. And our RAM would be incredible. Our RAM would be pushing 500, 600 megabytes right now, easy. Which may not sound that bad, but when you want to go up to 40, you're looking at blowing up your RAM. But of course, if this was instead 4 by 4, or 4 commons by 4 commons instead of 40 chunks by 40 chunks, each common having 10 by 10, we will already be finished, or nearly finished. And we're still waiting for the first, I mean, we're just at like 5 right now deep on the Z. And I would turn this game off. Now, back in the day, on my ColecoVision Atom, when I was waiting for my digital tape of Dirt or Donkey Kong or Pitfall to load up, and ColecoVision was spinning out, you know, and you might have to pull out the pencil or rewind the tape because it got out of sync. Back in that day, I expected a very long load time. You know, I would go in when I got home from school and put my tape in the game, and then I would go get a snack. I would go out and maybe feed the chickens, feed my hogs, do something to make sure my mom didn't call me for chores, come back, and my game was ready to go. Yeah, actually, it took a few minutes. It wasn't that bad. But in today's world, we're still loading on 40 by 40. And to get to a mile, we're looking at, let's see here, bring up calculator, trusty calculator. So a mile is 5,280 feet. We're saying each nugget is 3 feet by 3 feet. We need 760 nuggets. We're saying each chunk is 16 nuggets. We need 110 chunks by 110 chunks for a mile range. Now, even when you're pulling, you're not going to show more than maybe 16 in front of you, 16 in back, 32 by 32. Maybe you'll try to show 40 by 40, but it's going to affect the frame rate. And I think it's still, is it finished? Is it finished already? I was not expecting that. Yeah, it's finished. It finally got there. But you're not going to wait this long. I mean, we're about to start 60 by 60. I won't hate anyone that just like fast forwards the video. So how big is 60 by 60? 60 by 60 is about a half-mile range. So let's see here. 60 chunks by 3 foot by 16 nuggets. And that's a little bit more than a half-mile range. Half-mile range would be 2,640 divided by, actually 48, which would be, well, of course, a mile is 110. Half mile is 55. 55 chunks by 55 chunks. So to get a good half-mile range, buffered into memory, using one common, it's just incredibly, it's not gonna, Minecraft's going to be laughing at you. Mojang's going to be laughing at you because you're not providing an infinite world and you're taking this extreme amount of time. And then you got to punch in calculations for trees. I'm going more for a dungeon and tower defense kind of thing, but you got to pump in calculations for trees and water and you're going to have multiple commons. Other than that, we are good. In all actual fact, oh, well, let's check on RAM. 471 megabytes. With multiple commons, we will be looking at around 600 plus megabytes, which is good. Really good. I mean, that'll run on i5 with 8 gigs of RAM. Easy. With 4 gigs of RAM, easy. Give myself some gravity here. And then, of course, I kind of calculate the nugget size at 4 foot by 4 foot because of how short our height makes us. Because we lowered our height down to 1.75, so that puts me at about 5 foot tall. So I am, our character is short, but of course that just comes in camera optimization. You gotta keep on playing with those parameters if you're gonna do a Minecraft clone. I don't know why you would do a Minecraft clone. You're not going to. It's very doubtful you'll make a hit game, as Minecraft has the modding system. But if you're looking for a level design utility, once you see fences, you will kind of get how that works, and you will be ready to go. I'm just running at an incredible rate of speed right now. I'm going at least 90 miles an hour. Would say I'm Superman, but I'm not flying. Let's see how far along we are here. Nope, it's still going. We're getting close. We're getting there. Wow. Should put some kind of count out there. Really don't want to clear my RAM while clear my memory while this is running. Is that it? No. Still have some more. So this is a half-mile span. Well, this is a half-mile span this way along the X. We're still working on the Z. Wow. Yeah, I mean, I think most gamers today are just going to get up and go away. Is it finished? It is finished. So that's a half-mile span. It looks bigger because we really need to stretch out our world size, I guess. I'm not, but you can. You can stretch out the world size from 7,500 to about 10,000 to 15,000. Stretch, and that'll make it look a little bit more, because it looks almost like a mile range right now, actually. But it is, by calculation, half-mile range. You can load models from Blender. You can start to get your game going. So next up, we're going to implement fences so we can have our shapes react to one another a little bit. Show you how to do that with opposites. And then I'm going to jump into some lane-based tower defense and hopefully get to A-search tower defense. I've got to work on some other things first, though. So if you don't see those playlists as of yet, I try very hard to keep my word. And of course, I got to work on tiling and getting some atlases in here. Play with it. Like I said, maybe add the world size. We got plenty of room for another text box over here. Boom. Boom. Look at the hexagonal tutorials if you haven't. It's not really much different. And if you got something out of this, like and subscribe. God bless, and I will see you in the next playlist.